All right, Brian, Democrats are fighting back, but the question is, will it matter? This episode of Liberal Tears is brought to you by PDS Debt.
We've seen a lot of instances of this. And first of all, I think this is absolutely what we needed to see. I think the Democratic electorate more broadly, America more broadly, has been desperate for a Democratic Party that can actually fight back or is willing to fight back against this Republican Party. We've seen some instances of this. We obviously saw the 25-hour speech from Cory Booker. We saw the instance where Brian Schatz held up 300 nominations, continues to hold them up in the Senate. We saw Elizabeth Warren push Senate business back until 1 o'clock in the morning and not afford them that time allowance that they were seeking. Bernie went to Coachella. And most recently, we saw Senator Van Hollen go to El Salvador. And so I'm of the mind that even in these instances where we don't see material changes from one day to the next between Cory Booker's speech or it's not like Van Hollen is going to be able to bring back Abrego Garcia. I think the fact that they are figuring out ways to break through in this media environment and push the narrative forward and not just allowing Republicans full control of owning that narrative, I think that counts for something right now. And it also suggests that moving forward, maybe Democrats are going to be smarter about the way that they operate in this media ecosystem.
Yeah, let's just dig into the Van Hollen trip to El Salvador. So Maher Abrego Garcia is a Maryland man who was sent to this transnational gulag in El Salvador where he's currently rotting in prison. Even the Solicitor General of the United States, the Trump administration, says him being deported to El Salvador was a mistake and that it was done in error. The Supreme Court has said the administration has to facilitate his return, but the White House refuses. And even when Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, was in the Oval Office on Monday, both Trump and Bukele acted like they just had no power to bring this man home when both of them could easily do it like that at the drop of a hat. So Van Hollen went to the ground. He had a meeting with the vice president of El Salvador. He tried to have a meeting with Maher Abrego Garcia, but was denied. But good for him. At least he's doing something. He got out of D.C. and went and tried to help this man out.
And I think it's important too, just from a broader perspective, a 30,000-foot view. We have seen over the last decades how Republicans not only know to control the narrative, but know that Democrats are so weak and slow to respond that they have all the time in the world to actually rewrite the narrative for themselves. When you were working in the Obama administration, obviously Barack Obama's biggest accomplishment in office, his biggest legislative achievement was the ACA. Because there was that vacuum in messaging in the immediate aftermath, they were able to brand it death panels. And look what happened in the 2010 midterms. Democrats got killed. Fast forward all the way to today, now we have an entire right-wing media apparatus, ecosystem that exists to push forward these narratives in the void left by Democrats, whether it's...
I don't think it's a void. I think that's just fucking lying. They were able to tell a lie that was lurid, that sounded crazy, that got a bunch of coverage. And we're like, no, they're not death panels. And people are like, what do you mean, no, they're not death panels? What's a death panel? That to me is the disconnect. It's there's a speed piece of this. There's a willingness to fight piece of this in the Trump era. But these guys are just every day Trump is doing something. They're lying. They're calling innocent people terrorists. And it's Democrats need to figure out how to match that in a way that isn't emulating the dishonesty and the cruelty of harming innocent people, but can capture the media attention.
Even in instances where the right-wing media ecosystem isn't just outright lying and saying that he's a member of MS-13, for which there isn't any evidence, they're actually going out and saying other people from El Salvador have committed crimes that are heinous, like rape and murder, and so that's all the more rationale to be able to deport Abrego Garcia. It's these are two entirely different human beings. And that is the kind of uncritical coverage that we're contending with. And so to go back to our broader point, good on, the Bernies of the world and the AOCs of the world and Elizabeth Warren and Brian Schatz and Cory Booker and Van Hollen for figuring out ways to overcome the advantage that Republicans gain in the media ecosystem and figuring out a way to break through.
Yeah, get some attention. Speaking of a story that broke through, Brian, Bill Maher went to the White House and had dinner with Donald Trump. Let's hear him talk about it.
He's much more self-aware than he lets on in public. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy.
So we didn't watch Bill Maher's entire 13-minute rant, because who has that kind of time? I do think it's worth pointing out that he's the one who decided to make this meeting with Donald Trump a big thing. I don't care if he meets with Donald Trump. Meet with, talk to whoever you want. But then he decided to go public about it, and then you sort of responded to unnamed liberal critics with this 13-minute monologue about how actually liberals suck and we're intolerant. And it's like, hey, man, like, go meet with him or don't. Like, it's two rich old celebrities who are probably more similar than they are different. I think what Maher is doing here is making the cardinal mistake of confusing Donald Trump is nice to me and Donald Trump is a good guy.
Right.
And there are a lot of people who I think we all know in our lives who are nice to you, who are shitty people.
Right.
And clearly that's what's happening here. Just like, look, I don't care about his treatment of Bill Maher. Again, he's another rich, famous celebrity. He's going to be nice to Bill Maher. I care about his treatment of the men he's sending to their deaths in El Salvador.
Right. I think the one thing that struck me from what we just saw in that Bill Maher clip is he says, he kind of concedes that it doesn't matter what happens between Trump and some comedian behind closed doors in the White House. What matters is the face that Trump puts on for the rest of the world. But that's the whole point.
Right.
Like, nobody cares what happens behind closed doors when he's with Bill Maher. And it doesn't matter. You don't get extra points if there's a good guy somewhere deep down in there or somebody who is actually self-aware. Nobody cares about that. And you don't get points for being a good person deep down. What matters, to your exact point, is the fact that in public, when you're using the power that's afforded to you by virtue of your position, that you're using it to fuck people over who don't deserve it.
Yeah. His point is basically secretly Donald Trump is nice.
Right. But who cares?
Who does that help?
It just shows, and the fact that you would go on your show and say and present that as if it's some like check in the positive column for Trump, it's like, great, that's great what he's doing behind closed doors, that he knows that he's being an asshole, but he has the capacity to be like self-aware. Who cares? What matters is what he actually does in public.
Yeah, like there's a kernel of truth to the idea that Democrats need to be better about talking with people we disagree with, meeting with them, going on their shows, arguing, debating. That's all fine. But like Maher turned it into this annoying self-righteous rant that is clearly self-serving. He's making it about himself because he's an egomaniac, just like Donald Trump.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like Trump knows how to game the people who have the most influence. And so he sees somebody like Bill Maher, knowing full well that Bill Maher is not some like progressive icon, right? He talks to a broad swath of people in the center. I'm sure he views himself as like, I don't know, some iteration of a regular liberal Democrat, maybe disillusioned Democrat, maybe voice of the independent or moderate out there. And so if all Trump has to do is the same thing that would appeal to him as another narcissist, then he's just going to do that knowing that it's an easy way to buy off Bill Maher so that he can get some fawning coverage on Bill Maher's own show. And lo and behold, here we are.
Trump is a politician and a schmoozer and a phony. Like Tim Miller would say in the 2016 debates in the primary, like Trump would be hammering Jeb and Rand Paul and everybody. Then there would be a commercial break, and he'd be over there slapping backs. How's your family? Being a good guy. Like, he's full of shit.
Right.
That's all we learned here. That's all. Right. Thank you, Bill Maher. Yes, we know Donald Trump is full of shit. Thank you for that. The American dream is under attack, and hardworking people like you are being crushed under mountains of debt. Why? Because creditors love debt. They want you to be stuck in their high-interest trap. They want you to be drowning in student loans, credit card debt, and skyrocketing mortgage rates, because when you're broke, you're controllable. So what do? Take control, fight back, and that starts with PDS Debt. They've helped tens of thousands of people live debt-free. PDS Debt goes beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designated just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're just here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. We've all had the experience of a terrifying credit card bill that comes in month after month and only seems to grow. It can feel daunting. It can feel overwhelming. You could feel like you're never going to get out of debt. That is why PDS Debt is a solution for you to help you tackle this problem head on and figure out a plan and a process to pay it off. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/rank. That's pdsdebt.com/rank, pdsdebt.com/rank. One Democrat we did not include in our earlier list of Democrats who are fighting back.
Heroes, Tommy, our Democratic heroes, go on.
Is Joe Biden, who this text says is coming out of hiding. I don't like the rhyme.
Biden out of hiding.
Biden out of hiding. Let's watch a clip.
By the way, those 300-year-old folk getting that Social Security, I want to meet them because I like to figure out how they live that. Hell of a thing, man. I'm looking for longevity because it's hell when you turn 40 years old.
Listen, I'm grateful to Joe Biden for the things he did for his decades of service. I don't want to hear him giving speeches right now. I'm sorry. I know that's shitty. I know that's petty. He doesn't owe me anything. My opinion doesn't matter here. I don't want to hear. I'm very mad at Joe Biden still. I've been reading Jake Tapper's book about the Biden administration and the steps taken to kind of hide his decline.
Yeah.
I can't get into the details. It's still embargoed, but it is enraging.
Yeah, look, I'm in the same boat as you. Obviously, what he was able to do in office is worthy of praise, from adding 16 million jobs, bringing the stock market to a record high, unemployment to a 50-year low, passing the Inflation Reduction Act, the Chips and Sciences Act, the gun safety law, the infrastructure law. All that stuff obviously speaks for itself. From a political perspective right now, already Democrats have a problem, not just with what happened in the 2024 election itself. A candidate who loses has a degree of toxicity that kind of sticks to them. We have a gerontocracy problem in our party. And so the reality is that the last thing we should be doing right now is giving the biggest platforms to the people who really are holding back the party more broadly in a moment where we are desperate for and desperately need generational change.
We need generational change. We need some rebranding.
Yeah.
We need to look forward and not backwards. And look, throat clearing about Joe Biden aside,
Right.
We don't want to talk about his administration right now. People were pissed. They're mad about inflation.
Yeah.
Democrats are mad at the administration for how it went for Kamala Harris. I get that he's given speeches. It's probably paying the bills, but I don't want to hear them.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, Brian, we are going to end with just some comedy. Vice President JD Vance, when he's not busy tweeting, he seems to just tweet all day long.
Gargling Trump's balls.
That too. He does that a lot too.
I don't think we can leave that in.
You can leave that
we?
in. He welcomed the 2025 college football champion Ohio State Buckeyes to the White House earlier this week, and it didn't go great.
Tommy, I'm not sure I've seen a more apt metaphor for the Trump administration inheriting the Biden economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a metaphor, not a metaphor. I probably watched that 10,000 times.
Yeah.
I watched that clip over and over and over.
Poor JD
so
Vance.
funny.
He's just such a loser in this administration. Like, he came in, was immediately replaced by Trump's new favorite son, Elon Musk, and he's just kind of been in the shadows this whole time, and he's so desperate. He's like the Don Jr. of the political world. He's so desperate for validation from daddy that he keeps trying to take big swings in an effort to get attention, and it's just not working. I mean, the did you even say thank you thing to Vladimir Zelensky? It's just so desperate and transparent in terms of what he's trying to do.
Yeah, he's a very angry, very petty, very insecure seeming man, and watching him literally break apart a trophy in front of the most popular, biggest school in his home state was delicious.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for us. We're going to end on a fun note. If you like this content, please subscribe to the Pod Save America YouTube. Subscribe to Brian's YouTube channel. As you guys probably know, the right wing is crushing us on YouTube. When people search for content on YouTube and it's political, they are far more likely to find the Daily Wire or TPUSA or garbage from Breitbart than they are any progressive channels. And that's because ours aren't big enough and the algorithm is not surfacing our content. So please subscribe to the Pod Save America channel. Please subscribe to Brian's channel. It means a lot. It'll make a difference, and we'd appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.